So I've always been into fighting games growing up, and that's been the case ever since my dad first brought home Tekken 4 on the PS2. It was the first fighting game I ever played, and since then, the Tekken series has been one of my favorite fighting game franchises, well, ever. I played them in arcades when they were available, and when Tekken 7 released on consoles, I was pretty consistent with it for a while, till I, kept getting my ass beat. But because of how much these games meant to me over the years, I was pretty excited when Tekken Bloodline was announced and later released on Netflix. The show is 6 episodes long and is based on Jin Kazama and his journey to avenge the death of his mother after watching her be killed by the hands of Ogre. To do this, he has to train with his grandfather, Heihachi Mishima. After a lot of intense training and constantly getting his ass beat for 4 years straight, he's finally deemed strong enough to avenge his mother by competing in and winning the King of Iron Fist tournament, hosted by Heihachi. I went into this show with no real expectations, just a lot of curiosity on how in-depth they'd go into the story and how similar it would be to the games themselves. Tekken Bloodline introduced a few characters from the video games, but they were just side characters, but you do get to watch them fight a few times in a few of the episodes. And while the character design might have looked a little different, the outfits remained the same. And I'll admit, I got a few flashbacks to getting my own ass beat by the CPU in a few of the Tekken games from watching some of these moves that were used in Bloodline. Another thing that remained true to the game is Heihachi just beating the shit out of children and calling it training. As far as story depth goes, I can't really say we get too much. We don't really get too much information on any of the characters besides Jin and a little bit of Heihachi. I understand that there were only 6 episodes, and the point of the show is to talk about him and his life and what it took for him to become the King of Iron Fist champion. But it would have been nice to get more of a backstory on other characters, or even show some of the characters that were mentioned but were never actually introduced into the show. I think that if there were more than just 6 episodes, we could have gotten a deeper look into the relationships, motivations, and backstories of other characters. It just kind of felt like a lot was missing, or there should have been some explanations to things where there were none. Ultimately, Tekken Bloodline was a good watch, and as a Tekken fan, I personally got pleasure out of it. There's been no talk of a second season, but if there ever were to be, I'd happily watch, and I would be sure to tune in, probably since it released. Anyways, thanks for watching as always, much appreciated.